It's been 600 days since Roman Reigns became our WWE Universal Champion. Now, what if I tell you that technically he could have lost that title way back at Royal Rumble 2021, but WWE refused to acknowledge it as they didn't plan for it to happen at all. I'm Kevin, and here are 5 memorable WWE moments that were unscripted. Number 5, Pat McAfee gets stunned. WrestleMania 38 was truly the most stupendous two-night event in WWE history, filled with some of the most magnificent matches and memorable moments. Some of the more talked about moments involve Stone Cold Steve Austin. He interrupted Vince McMahon in theory on night 2 of the show. WWE's chairman had just beaten Pat McAfee. That's right, a 76-year-old man beat a former NFL star with McMahon's protege helping him out. The two heels were on the receiving end of Stone Cold Stunners each, and if we could even call Vince's Stone Cold Stunner, that would be a stretch. As stated on his podcast, McAfee did not know Stone Cold Steve Austin would come out after the match. Despite it not being planned, he celebrated with the Texas Rattlesnake and shared a couple of beers. What an exceptional moment and an exceptional sell by McAfee, who's probably still spitting up beer from that, right? Number 4, Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax. Charlotte has been at the forefront of a few controversial moments on WWE television in the recent years. One of them came right in the middle of a match with her opponent Nia Jax in late August on Monday Night Raw. The bout did not go as planned, with things breaking down physically quickly between the two superstars. Flair and Jax engaged in an awkward tussle involving some real punches and kicks, and both women seemed to sabotage each other's offense before the other could be restored and the match could get back on track. The match ended as scripted, with Nia Jax pinning the then Raw Women's Champion. It's still unclear what exactly resulted in what appeared to be a real fight at some point in this match, but we are glad that Flair and Jax were professional enough to finish the match and get it done on television. The Queen still holds the WWE title, although it's a different one. Number 3, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair's title exchange. In terms of WWE superstars going off script, there has been no bigger example in 2021 than the cringy belt exchange between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair on SmackDown. The idea was doomed from the start, with a swap between the title championships being a lazy way to get the momentum going for the WWE draft. Can you imagine Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar simply just passing belts to one another? Anyway, Flair was supposed to hand over the Raw Women's Championship before receiving Lynch's SmackDown Championship. The man reportedly planned to hold both titles and somehow teasing being Becky 2 belts. But that didn't happen. As big-time Bex reached out to grab it, Flair pulled the Raw Women's Championship away and threw it on the mat. In return, Lynch just threw the SmackDown Women's Championship at Charlotte Flair. Before this segment could go any further off the rails, Sasha Banks came out and targeted the Queen. However, this remains to be one of the more infamous moments in recent wrestling history, which reportedly led to a backstage confrontation that was heated between Flair and Lynch as well. Number 2, who's the actual last man standing? Roman Reigns had a near-perfect list of WWE pay-per-view victories in 2021. Every single one of them was great, although some of them did have their issues. One of the more glaring ones came during the Tribal Chief's WWE Universal Championship Last Man Standing match against Kevin Owens at last year's Royal Rumble. The match was a hard-hitting affair, really entertaining, but the ending kind of took the steam out of it for some fans. Towards the closing moments of the match, which needs to end with someone being on the floor for a count of 10, Paul Heyman struggled to unlock a handcuffed Reigns, who was stuck on the floor being counted out. With millions watching live, there was no way the ref could logically stop the count. As a result, Kevin Owens would have to become the new champion, despite it not being the planned finish of the match. This led to a quick moment of improvisation from the Tribal Chief, who used his free hand to attack the referee and stop the count at 9. Roman had no choice but to go off script and protect the title at all costs. However, it took too long for him to be unlocked, which led to a messy finish. Number 1, the chokeslam through the cell. King of the Ring 1998 was one of the most violent and brutal and jarring matches in WWE history, with Mick Foley on the receiving end of some of the worst physical punishment in professional wrestling history at the hands of The Undertaker. The dead man threw Foley off the top of the Hell in a Cell, taking out the entire audience's breath at one time as Foley crashed through the table, making one of the most iconic moments in professional wrestling history. What followed was one of the most memorable but unscripted moments. The Undertaker chokeslammed Foley, who got up from taking that fall off the cage and climbed back up to the top of the cell. He chokeslammed him through the top of the cell down to the unforgiving mat below. Instead of that, Foley suffered some serious injuries. According to Bruce Pritchard, after this moment, there was chaos backstage. WWE officials and wrestling legend Terry Funk were deeply concerned for Mick Foley and hit the ring quickly to check on him. Taker got down into the ring, looking down, feeling clueless about Foley's condition, and Pritchard added Vince McMahon coming down to check on Mick wasn't staged. That was real. He was genuinely concerned about Mick's health and condition. Fortunately, Mick Foley did not suffer any fatal injuries, but certainly life-changing ones from this huge botch, and still fought his way to finish the match and have one of the most historic and brutal moments in WWE history.
And that's our video for the day. If you enjoyed it, like the video, drop into the comments, and share it with your friends. For more such videos like this, subscribe to Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda.